Welcome to the Flower Prophecies, a podcast exploring all things flower essences and remedies and flower therapy, and how this vibrational plant medicine has the potential to heal and shift our individual and collective health and consciousness. We'll be diving deep into the specifics of individual essences, nature's energetics, emotional healing and growth, as well as hearing client case studies, hosting special guests and professionals, and I'll be sharing my own personal explorations and philosophies channeled straight from the flowers. Through my own unearthing, I have discovered what I believe to be the most profound teaching of the flowers, and I now wish to share with you the practice of alchemizing fear into beauty. Welcome back to the Flower Prophecies. Today we have Fino Burgos on of Snake Root Apothecary in the mountains of New Mexico. So Fino is a clinical herbalist and a flower essence therapist, bringing together plant, animal, earth, and elemental medicines to facilitate healing and education in a holistic way. Fino's work is rooted in social justice, harm reduction, anti-oppression, with the belief that healing work is not only for the individual, but an act of healing for the world. Thank you for being here, Fino.
I was like, wow, I wrote that? That's nice.
Yes.
I'm like, I stand behind that. You know, like sometimes you write things down that you like, or ways that you talk about your work and It sounds like so cringe, but I'm like, oh, I really stand behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. You need someone else to say it back to you to be like, I sound legit.
I did a good job. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to get into today's conversation, and you are tuning in from your 300-year-old adobe in New Mexico. Yeah. How cool.
I know. It's like,
how about to begin, you just share a little bit about yourself and your journey and what led you to your path now of clinical herbalism and flower essence therapy, and, you know, where you are in the world, and share a little bit about your story with us.
Well, yeah, I feel like there's like I feel like the plants have been like always kind of like sending me little messages about like magic and possibilities. I'm trying to think, like, I remember I had this really cool art school teacher or art teacher in school named Darling Bonjo, who was like a very cool, like she listened to like really cool like industrial goth music, and then also used to be like a go-go dancer in Atlanta, but also was a total witch. And she would mention stuff to me sometimes, like she'd be like, well, it's Beltane, so I'm gonna like make love to my husband in the garden tonight. And I'd be like, what? I was like, 13 or something. I'd be like, wait, what? That's so cool. And she'd talk about amazing. Like, yeah, she was so cool. Like, she was like really cool. And she'd like give me like really cool music and really cool poetry to read and stuff like that. And then she'd also like give me stuff that I couldn't even fathom because my family was so, I don't know, just like suburban American, like pretty run of the mill, over the counter, that sort of thing. She would give me like salves and stuff like that, and she would tell me about herbs and tea, and like I remember that just like really planted like a deep seed for me about like the moon as a being that's existing, and like ways of like talking to plants and like being in the rhythm of things in a way,
Yeah, that's incredible.
And also like paired with like all my favorite things, which was like really cool music and like making art for the sake of making art, and like I don't know. She's just like really the best and really cool. And she just really did things because she wanted to, and they were pretty, and not because of like any motivation of like the product or the end result of something. So I feel like that was like a really big inspiration in the beginning of it all. And it showed me so much about the possibilities of aliveness and things, I think. And, also too, I think because I felt like such like a weirdo, kind of like misunderstood. Like I just felt really like I always had like these certain drives in me that like I would never do what I didn't want to do, and it would always get me in trouble and stuff like that. And I, even the way I looked and dressed, like I was just a little like weirdo, you know? And she kind of gave me a place for that to exist and like a big validation. And it also made it look cool, you know? Like I was like, oh, this is also chic. Like there's also like a cool, like there's actually like a whole history and lineage of like other like freaks and like queers and like artists and like gardeners and ways of being in that way. And I just remember like I still like think that she's like one of the coolest people. And I think like the last time I saw her was like at a My Bloody Valentine concert or something like that. Like wow. I just like ran into her and I was like, you're so cool. You're at like the same concert as me, you know, like,
what an incredible role model to have growing up.
Yeah. She was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super. I love as well, like the notion of like how she nurtured that within you, because, you know, a lot of the time in the schooling system, that's kind of like the opposite is happening, right? That's kind of like pushed out of us, you know, and drawn out of us in the way of like suppressing it and like rejecting it. So I love hearing that you had that experience of this beautiful individual teacher sort of nurturing those qualities within you and sort of what you have to offer the world. That's beautiful. So how did that then lead you to get onto this path?
Well, I think it's interesting. Yeah, because I'm like, school really, like, I was like pretty, and then I ended up like dropping out of school, you know, like whatever. It's just like, you know, that sort of thing. It's like the art room was like the one place, you know, the sanctuary. And I feel like a lot of people I know have like felt that way or whatever. But then really from there, like I dropped out of high school when I was, I think 15 turning 16, because the legal age in Philadelphia was 16. So, and I'm a late August birthday. So, so I basically was done then, which was maybe ninth grade or something like that. And then, because I always really had like a pretty like clear, like I've always been like kind of like lucky in this way, even though it feels hard a lot of the times too, to just like have this like really very driven towards a direction. I hear the call and I go there sort of. And basically like from there, I like ended up moving to California really young, like 18. And I was really precocious at the time, was like, I'm moving to New York City after my summer in California and I'm going to go work on my art career. You know, like I was like, I'm going to just do because that's what I'm from Philly and like, that's what people would do. They moved to New York City and then they would like make a career out of it. Right. But I ended up like in this like really kind of like, I can't go into the whole story because I feel like we don't have loads of time or whatever. But like I ended up in Big Sur, basically getting a job caretaking this health food chef's property in Big Sur. And he's like this like really interesting like man who's like wrote the Estlin cookbook. And he had this like miniature goat farm and olive farm and apple orchard and bees in the mountains of Big Sur. And he just needed me to like come. I knew how to milk goats, and he just needed me to like be there while he went off catering. And it was like I was only supposed to be there for 2 months, and then I was like moving to New York City to work on my art career. You know, like whatever. This like really like funny idea. Like it was so funny thinking about like an 18-year-old being like so serious about like what, you know, my like life's trajectory or whatever. But I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then it would be like, oh no, okay, another 2 months. I can't, you know, like I had to like keep staying. And then one night I remember like just like walking outside and like looking at the stars and being like, whoa. And I just put that idea down. I was like, no, I was like, it's so like that idea that I have to like be that sort of way to do that sort of thing is such a falsehood. And like, I just like need to be living under these stars. Like that was just like, I was like, I don't need anything else. I just need to be here and I need to be living under these stars. And I need to actually need to like be under these stars for a reason. Like there's like big, like I had like a very like intense childhood, and obviously, there's like all these things that also led me to like dropping out of school and like moving out, or like all these things, and a lot of addiction stuff, and it was there where I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like do this, and I'm gonna face a lot of this stuff. And it was like completely off grid. I was pretty much the only one who lived there. Sometimes Charlie would come and go, the owner. And eventually we got volunteers like towards the end of my stay there. But I spent a lot, like it was no cell phones, no internet. I didn't even have a cell phone for years. Then like dial-up phone, like a landline, and totally off grid. So I was spending really no neighbors. We had like a 40-acre parcel, so I would spend the days like walking goats.
I love it.
Like all day.
It's so good.
It was cool, and like I'd be with myself, I'd be with the goats. And the goats have all these like really interesting relationships to plants. Like they're so smart when it comes to and like what comes to what they can eat, what they can't eat, what they can eat little bits of, and poisons and herbs and stuff like that. And I think it was really my time alone. Like I was beekeeping, I was hanging out with the goats, and I was sitting with just like outside a lot, just like listening, is when I was able to really realize that, like really touch in with like the like animate life force of everything. And I started to like be able to like listen in and like understand that like the earth was talking to me, and that I started to like get really interested in like the medicinal qualities of the herbs from there.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
It was cool. Like it was a cool time, and I don't know where I would be without that time, because I lived there for that was my collegiate years when I was like in college, because I was like 18. I was there for actually 5 years, which would be a really long. Maybe that I also got my MFA or got my master's too, but. So like I joke about that, because all my friends were like in college, you know, and I was just becoming like, I was like in Philadelphia before that. And then I came there, and then became like completely feral. It's like I just like totally became like totally feral. Sorry, my cat's like meowing at me.
So interesting though, because it's like I feel like in that space and in being immersed in nature in that way, surrounded by the plants and the animals and no one else, it's almost like you can learn so much more than going to school and learning things that may or may not be aligned with you, or be nurturing to what you're here to do in the world. So it's like you had this like incredible opportunity at such a young age to like just like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like learn from like the school of life.
Yeah, but that's why I dropped out of high school.
Yeah,
because it wasn't because I was having a hard time. I was actually that year I dropped out. I was actually probably the best student I had ever been.
Wow.
But I was also like taking like Ritalin or Adderall or something like that to be a good student, and I was like, I don't believe in this. Like, I think it was like really one day I was just like, I don't believe in this. I actually think that like, one, I don't want to be here learning the stuff that I'm learning. Two, this is all like Western colonial. Like, it just like, I was just like, this is like a Western colonial myth. And I had no interest in being there anymore. So I was just like, I closed the, I was like, I basically was like, I woke up from like a dream of feeling like I had to do things a certain way. And like, I was also experiencing abuse at home. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can curse.
That's fine. You can swear.
But I was like, I'm done. It's like, I'm done. Like this, I'm done. No, I don't believe in this. So let's find other solutions. Like, there's other options. So I'm going to do that. And I think like really like even choosing Big Sur and like choosing those ways, it was just me being like I actually want to actively put time and energy into like unlearning the ways I've been taught reality is supposed to be, or like the way that life is supposed to be. And I mean, that's a huge, I mean, I feel like that's, I'm like, that's what plants are like. I feel like plants, the stones, the animals, the water, like so many of the creatures here, like, at least in like, so like, I'm thinking about like the colonized world are like big teachers in helping us unlearn those lessons of like, you know, colonialism and capitalism and those sorts of things. Like they're like so good at telling us like that shit's a lie, you know, like just being like, we can deconstruct that.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. It really is. And it's like, it's kind of like until you have the space to hear what they're sharing with you and that they're sharing those things with you, like we kind of go through life like with our blinders on. And so I just think how beautiful that intrinsic like drive in you was able to like move you into that place at such a young age that you had that space to hear that, you know. So beautiful. I love that. So you describe now what you do as interspecies tending with the plants and stones and the earth. I love that sort of description of it. Could you share what that means to you?
Yeah, like I think, well, I feel like I'm like being so like funny in this because I'm just like I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, you know, whatever. But I feel like
I'm here for
like,
it. I'm here for it.
So a while ago, I was thinking about the word work, and like, you know, I had like I would always be like, you know, like do the work, like the emotional work, so that you can show up in the world better, like that sort of a thing. And then I was like, well, I hate work. Like, I mean, I love to like put my energy into things, but I don't, you know, like I don't believe in like the coercive nature of like having to work for like our basic needs to be met and stuff like that. And so I was thinking about the associations of that word, and I was like, I don't want that word anywhere near my practice. So that's where tending comes in, because tending is like so much about like paying attention and nurturing and like caring and like just like looking and seeing and talking and being with, you know, and also like seeing, like, I don't know, just like paying attention to what's emerging there, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can resonate with that. I mean, I myself like to describe what I do as like flower essence stewarding, being the steward of the flowers and steward of the plants, you know? So I really resonate with that. I love, you know, listening to it's this like rebellious streak, I guess, within you, because it just reflects my own of like, I'm the same, you know, I've always been that way too, of like, you know, if there's something within me that's like, no, like this isn't the way, this isn't right, or this doesn't feel right, I'm like, I can't not like follow that, or I can't not like say that, or like act on that, or like, you know, share that with whoever's like trying to hold that back in me.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a really good thing, because I also think it's like really important to be like honest and truthful and like show up and not like, and I think when we put our needs aside, I don't know, I feel like there's like a whole slew of things that come from that, like from not, you know, like being with like what's true and what's, you know, like true for you, and and trusting your gut in that way. And I think like that's so much like when I teach like flower essences or something like that, it's like so much about like teaching people to like trust themselves and trust that, you know, like that their intuition is like strong, and that they're able to connect and they're able to communicate and have these relationships, you know?
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like, I feel like, you know, going back to like how the plants and the flowers and the earth shares all of those messages of like what we're not here to do with us. It's really just showing, they're really just guiding us in listening to our truth, to our essence. Because when we listen to that, that's when we understand all of these conditioned things and all of these like, you know, created sort of falsehoods and everything, right?
Totally,
so
yeah.
They're just here to show us our truth, right? And that's how they just connect us back to it so beautifully. So I resonate really strongly with that.
Totally. And I feel like that's like I feel like the like interspecies thing is like so much about like it's not just like it's not just plants, it's like stone, like I have like big connections with like rocks and stones and also water and like it's like all these different like elemental beings and also like earth beings and also star like all those sorts of things. Like I feel like they like it's like there's so much I've learned about uh like force and coercion and whatnot, like how I don't want to be when it comes to like animals and like ways of communicating and like nonverbal communication, and like how many different ways there are to be in relationship and listen and hear. And it's just, I feel like it's like so mind blowing and so good, like so good to practice. And then, yeah, once we're like opening ourselves up to those like conversations with the more than human world, then like I would say most, if not all, like I'm like, I feel like most of the more than human world is like older beings than us humans. Like I feel like humans are relatively like new in the scheme of things. And like there's so many stories, like so many stories all across the world from so many different like so many origin stories about how like almost silly and unintelligent humans can be because they're like the like yeah. Reading it or like whatever like sort of thing. And there's so many lessons, even like storytelling lessons of like how plants and animals have like taught humans how to be in the world. And I think they are still doing that, it's like through flower essences or yeah 100%.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I guess it's kind of when we kind of reflect on, yes, humans are like this kind of the newer sort of species here, and we really don't know a whole lot, even though we think
yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like we've actually still got endless amounts to learn from them. Like we're kind of just touching the iceberg of what we're here to learn from it all, right? We haven't even almost started, I would say.
I know, that's why I'm like, gosh, it's so like I'm like the conditions we live in, and I'm like, wow, it's like I'm just like we should be just like I'm like we should just be doing that all day long.
Yes, like you were on the farm at 18.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So good. Okay, so I am so curious about Flower Church. So
Flower Church.
Yes, this is like what first caught my eye on your page. Also because it's like in this beautiful old, like, I guess it originally was a church, yeah?
Yeah, it's like a chapel. Well, it originally was a well house.
Okay.
And then it turned into a bad boys school, and the bad boys school people turned the well house into a chapel. Anyway.
Incredible. So like I just love it. I love the thought of like being really committed and in consistent devotion to flowers and to the elements and all of this, but in a community setting. So could you share what Flower Church is and what it entails and sort of how it came about and anything you'd like to share about it, because I'm so intrigued.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm just like Flower Church. It was Flower Church yesterday, and it was like so amazing, and I left just being like, this is my favorite thing ever. Like, that's all I want to do is Flower Church.
Yes.
So I like one day, like, I think when I moved to New Mexico, like 2 years ago, I kind of had like this like idea. I was like, I love to do like a free community thing, like once a month, just to make anything plant related, like super accessible, because I'm like, I want people to like get plant pilled. I want them in. Like I'm like join me. Like please, like we need that. Like it's like not only is it like nice, it's like or like good for them. It's like so important for the world. Like we need it's like 100% essential. So I'm like, any way to get people in to like start paying attention to plants, like let's do it. So I try to do one thing free. Like I've done that when I lived in California, like whatever. Since I've been teaching, I've been trying to act out for that. So I was like, well, what do I want to do? And I was like, what if I did like a Sunday, like plant meditation once a month, and it could be like donation based or whatever, and people could just come and we just like do a mystery meditation with like one plant and like all sit together and talk about it. Well, and I was like, it could be called Flower Church because it's like on a Sunday, and then we could like orient our devotion practice like whatever that means for people, and like religious stuff aside, like what if we were just like created like a monthly space where you have like, it's just 1 to 2 hours of like your time where you are dedicating yourself to opening your heart to listening to a plant voice and like connecting and like putting that time aside in the morning to like be with a plant being, and then it just like kept developing from there, where like I heard about this man named George who's like 82, and he's like an old queer who's like building a bathhouse in Santa Fe and has a chapel on his property. And I like went over, and George was like amazing, like really eccentric man, and was like, will you help me plant like 80 pounds of garlic? And I was like, sure. And then I told him about Flower Church. Like, it's just like, like we were like doing like harvesting radishes and tomatoes yesterday. Like, it's always a thing. And he's so creative. He's a delight. Like, he's such a magical elder, and his place is so cool and so beautiful. And the chapel is amazing. And yeah, the chapel was an old well house. It's an old adobe well house, and it has like famous fresco, like New Mexican fresco artists, like actual frescoes in there, like the paintings, and just like amazing wood carvings and stained glass and everything. So it's like absolutely gorgeous. And he was like, yeah, let's do Flower Church.
I love
and
it.
That's how Flower Church started. Like, I was like, wait, I actually have a church to do this in? With like a parking lot, and people can come, and it works. Like, this is happening. Yeah. And then I just feel, it's like, I just go there. I wake up in the morning on my Flower Church days. I come to my apothecary. I ask who wants to come, like, which plant wants to, like, who wants to be shared, And then I go and I adorn the church, and we do we meet at 10, and everyone comes in, and we do like a mystery plant sit, and then we all talk about it, and then I make a snack.
I love it. Gotta have snacks.
Yeah, then we have like snack. We have like a like from 10 to 11 is church, and then from 11 to 12 is like church social,
it's very inspiring, and makes me want to share something like that here with the people.
Yeah.
Because it's just like this notion of like, I guess we all feel that when we come into community together and just are able to openly like connect and authentically share, and with like a plant at the core of that, it's like this beautiful gateway, I think, to like deepening that connection with each other. So what does that mean to you to do it in community,
Well, I think that like community is essential and so important, and like always with my classes, I just like love bringing people together because they can connect, it's like like-minded people connecting and realizing like it helps to like, I feel like the world is so alien. Like, if you like care about anything, like, I feel like the way that the world is, it can be like, you can feel so alienated and alone. And so that first and foremost is like so important to me. And then as like an educator, and an educator with like a very strong devotion practice to flowers and essences particularly, and I think also too just like the belief system that like, hey guys, like, we do really need to pay attention to like, it's no joke, like we actually need, like, it's like crucial for our survival to like listen to the flowers. Like worshiping flowers is not just a nice thing to do for ourselves, but for the world. And kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, just like about like strengthening the intuition. I think in a group setting, when you're working with plants, like doing plant meditations or teaching, like I feel like a lot of people that come are not I always have new, like pretty packed flower church with like new people almost every single time. And it's really cool, like the rotation. And then I have like my diehards. It's like really just like very cool, especially since like Santa Fe isn't like a huge metropolis. Yeah. And I think I think like the key thing here is like when we get together and people start they're meditating with a plant, they don't know what it is until we do like the big like reveal at the end. But when people are talking about like the different patterns, the energetic patterns of their experiences with the plant meditation, people often, like other people, everyone's making connections and finding like similarities, and they're starting to understand the patterns of energetics of the plant. Like, you know, educationally, I feel like it's like so cool in like showing people how to like trust that they're one, that the plant can speak to them, that they can make those connections, and that their intuitive hits on like what's coming up for them is like true and real and like really valid. Like I feel like it's like super validating, and then it helps strengthen that like spiritual backbone, you know, and understanding and knowing. And that I feel like I'm like, yeah, I want people to like be like having those communication channels open, because I feel like we'll be so much better as humans with those open, you know?
Yes. And that really is such a big part of like learning to trust your intuition, is like seeing it like reflected and validated in another human as well. Like, you know, I think even for me, that's how I sort of started really tapping into that, is like actually sharing it with others and getting them to respond with like, yes, that was coming up for me, you know, like it's like that's how you build it. So it's like so important. Oh, yeah. I would love to visit Flower Church.
Oh my God, come anytime. Like, yeah, I mean, like, it's just so, yeah, it's like the best thing ever. But yeah, I mean, start one. I don't know. I'm like, they're like, I feel like it's like I feel like it's such a cool thing. And it's so, yeah, it's just nice. And people can't, like, it was spring. It's like, it got cold now, you know, like it's still fall, but we're moving into, we haven't had our first frost yet, but it's cold. And it was raining all day yesterday, and people still came, and it was like packed, and we were like doing it, and there were like drips coming from the ceiling, and like, you know, just like, so people come when it snowed. It's just like really, it's cool. I love it.
That's beautiful. I think just like amazing, like props to you for like creating that space and just following the path to letting it unfold in that way that it was meant to.
It's just I just like love that I'm like, it just like another habit. Like it would be awesome even if it was just on a Sunday anywhere and you're just meditating with plants, like that would be great. But like the fact that it's like in the church and also like that too, and like whether, you know, it's like, it's just nice to also like occupy a space like that. That's like, I actually like I'm really kind of like down for like, you know, like all religion and stuff like that. And I'm like, whatever. And I'm not like, this is bad, like whatever, or, you know, like, I think it's like the church and the state thing is like what's really bad. And so it's like nice to like occupy a space, like, you know, like the Catholics, like the Spanish Catholicism in New Mexico killing so many people, like it's like, and then we get to like reclaim that space in a way that's like truly what God is about, which is like all these, so it's also like a nice like rewiring of that circuitry, you know.
Absolutely. It's like rewriting that story for sure.
Totally.
Beautiful. A quick note, if you are a creative, an entrepreneur, or someone with a deep passion or vision that you would like to expand into, if you know your potential and are desiring to transmute your fears into fuel for fulfilling it, if you want to learn more about yourself so that your relationships can feel expansive and easeful, and if this episode is stirring something within you, I want to share with you that I offer one-to-one mentoring packages where we will explore flower essences and using them to harness and harmonize your vision and creativity. Drawing upon all I have navigated and learned from working in the creative industries for a decade to creating deep relationships with the flowers, alchemizing my own fears, blind spots, and roadblocks, I have curated these 3-month packages to offer you deep healing, growth, and tangible resources to tap into your personal and creative evolution. Again, if this is stirring something within you that is calling to be tapped into, you can book a connection call or sign up for the Beauty Way packages via the link in the show notes or by heading to hekahealing.com.au/thebeautyway. I look forward to sharing the flower medicine with you.
No.
I would love to hear about your experience with flower essences and like what this particular, you shared, I think before we started, how flower essences really are your sort of favorite medicine of it all. So I'd love to hear what they mean to you and how, I guess, your first experiences with them and whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like I feel like the reason I love flower essences so much is because of how much of a just like I was like kind of nihilistic and like I like come from like an anarcho-punk background that's like I think was like no gods, no master, like very like bereft of spirituality, even though I feel like Big Sur, like me moving to Big Sur and like the start like really breathed that life back into me. I'd made it okay to like believe in something bigger than myself. And like I'm really glad because obviously like that's not the way to be either. And that's like very like Western, like just like a very bad Western way of being. Very bad behavior, I think, on behalf of like all the like incredible intelligence in the world. But like I'm very like like I know for myself I'm like, oh, if I'm feeling like nihilistic or something, then I probably am not feeding my spiritual practice enough, and often that's what's leading me to like depression and all this other things, and like if I'm nourishing that, whatever. But so anyway, I'm like tangent, but I just had like kind of like more of a like I'm doing like I want to do herbs and I'm like doing it for like the physical medicine, and like I don't believe in like God or anything. Like I'm not like I don't want to be. I don't what is in big like I feel like I really got into herbs in Big Sur where there's like 1,000,010 hippies coming through all the time, and I was like, I don't like hippies. I don't like their woo woo. Like I was like, I don't like their way of like doing things, and like this, I don't want to be that. Like I was like hands off. If somebody tells me that, my like my cough is from my mother wound or something like that, I'll like smack them, I was like, no. I'm like, I can't. And now whatever, I was like laughing in fire church because I'm like, you receive energy through your heart, and I'm like, oh my God, listen to me talk. But I'm like, but it's true, so what can I say? I have to tell the truth, like I can't lie. So this, when I was telling you about my friend who lives in Australia now, or like my Australian friend. Anyway, we went on when I was getting into herbs, and I finally left Big Sur, and stuff like that. Clemmy was like, let's go on a bike tour. She's like an amazing adventurer. And she was like, let's go on a bike tour. And I was like, okay, but I'm a type A Virgo type that can't do something just for fun. I have to like be working or something like that. So I was like, well, what if we cycled through the Southwest and we went to different towns and like studied herbs along the way, and like go to herb shops and see if we could find like teachers and stuff like that, because it's just in the beginning of my herbal education, and I was like really and I love the desert and stuff like that. So I also had like information I had like laid on these rocks and Joshua Tree that were like, you need to stay here for a really long time and like spend time in the desert and like listen to rock messages. So I was like, okay, what if we just like did some desert herbalism stuff? And early into the trip, we were supposed to stay with this botanist in Bisbee, Arizona, but she was out of town. So she was like, what if you stayed with our friend Mimi? Mimi is an herbalist and a flower essence practitioner. And this is Mimi Camp. I think her thing is called like Essences of the Desert or something like that. But she's very hard to like pin down. And you can get her essences at the Tucson Herb Shop. And good luck emailing her and getting essences that way, because like she's mostly in Mexico with her like curandera husband who can't cross the, like, she's just like amazing, and she's like looked the same for like ever. And you know, just like this esoteric like desert like wafy like white lady with white hair who really freaking knows her plants. And she was part of the Southwestern School of herbalism, which Michael Moore started.
Yeah.
Who was like a very heavy, you know, like he's like a high dosing herbalist too.
Yeah.
But anyway, her essences are the best. And her property down in Bisbee just like seemed to collect and might still, I don't know, like just different, like kind of like cool, hot punk girls and queer people that would just kind of end up there to like study herbs with her and like do chores for her and like work, you know, you would just kind of sit. But so much of what she was asking us to do is like proof her flower essences.
Yes. Wow.
And dude, we sat with, I think it was wild cotton. We would like spend the whole after, like it would be like eating and chores and like da 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 da, like the first half of the day, and then the next half of the day would be like flower essence school. But really, we were just like helping her proof her essences, and we would just sit and take essences.
Wow.
And like just like maybe 3 people or something like that. And I had, I'm getting chills. I'm like, every time I tell a story, I'm just like, whoa, I had the most like, profound experiences of my whole life. Like I've never been, you know, I was taken so deeply with, especially like the wild cotton, like the desert cotton, the like ancestral stuff that I walked, you know, it's like I'm instant convert where I like walked away. And then I felt almost like silly or something that I like had doubted that the spirits were there, you know, in the first place. Like I was just like, of course, like why have I been like, you know, and that was just another push towards like unlearning the narrative of like the Western colonial mindset of like how we think things are, you know. And I was like really pushed towards this like push in this direction of like the endless possibilities of things in this way that was like so. And also I healed, like it was like the amount I healed from like one flower essence set was like, I was like, my life has changed. My life was truly changed forever in that moment. And while I was there, one of the people that was staying there, one of the like really cute, like crust punk person was like, I went, you know, like was just like chain smoking in front of the fire. Like after we had like all these like really, you know, tears were falling, you know, like all these like really emotional flower essence shares, was like whatever, was like sitting there and talking about stuff and was like, we used to do this like every day at Blue Otter. And I was like, what's that? And that's when I learned about the herb school that I ended up going to, which was the Blue Otter School, which is Karen Sanders and Sarah Holmes. And so much of their teachings is rooted in really like the spiritual connection with the plant. And we did so much, like I was like, I want to do this every day. And then this person, Katie, told me about the school. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to that school. Because I got to do this every day. Like I was like, no, you know, like I was like, I have to know. I was like, I want to know every plant, you know, like I want to like have this intimacy with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. It's just like, I feel like, you know, everyone that ends up like in this work has these incredible moments where like, you know, they have no idea what the medicine of the flowers can be. And like, it's not even necessarily always like doubting it, but like, just like kind of like brushing off like the potential of them. And, and then they have these incredibly profound experiences. And it's just like, life, like you say, life changes in like an instant. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you see a whole new path forward in like that one moment, and it's just like so profound almost.
Yeah.
So I just love hearing that. That's so beautiful. So wild cotton for you was like the ancestral stuff you said?
Yeah, it was a really intense one. I mean, it's gonna like I feel like yeah, I feel like um I you know, like I feel like so I mean, I feel like any essence could be really intense for anyone, you know, like something that you would think is really chill or something like you'd be like that's oh that sounds so nice, like gonna open the heart could be like super really intense. Like actually I'm that person who like the heart opening stuff is actually like so intense for me where I'm like I'm gonna die. Where other people are like I feel so good, like I feel amazing, and I'm like I'm gonna die, you know, because it's like it hits my stuff so hard, you know.
I want to ask you about that though, because like you say, like they unfold so differently for each of us, and like for
Mm-hmm.
some people, it can provoke this really intense and hectic and really, yeah, just wild experience, and like this is something that I have trouble articulating. I think to clients is like you can have these experiences, but still trust in the support that the flowers are going to actually guide you through it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like articulating how to share that, like, if you like can tap into that notion that like no matter what you're supported through it by the flowers and by the spirit of the flowers, like you're going to be fine on the other side, then like you can get through that intensity of it. I just want to hear your
Mm-hmm.
experience with like how to maybe even if you can articulate that experience, because I also experience them, a lot of them really intensely as well, others not so much, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts and take on that.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it like I try to do that too with like with my clients and stuff. I'm like just stay with it because oftentimes the stuff that's like pushing is actually the thing that's like so supportive because it's like seeing you, believing you, knowing that you can do it and that like whatever is like moving through like really is not you like it's like wants to move through. Like I feel like it's like really deeply bringing your attention to something. So I almost find, and like even from personal experience, because my teacher Karen used to always go like you can only go as deep with your clients as you go with yourself, you know. So I have to do this work myself too, you know. Like
Yeah.
I do this, I do, yeah. And also, I mean, by building these deep relationships with plants, you definitely are doing like, the work. It's just gonna happen, you know. Like it's on.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like when stuff, you know, it's like with that stuff, it's like you know, sometimes you know you don't want to blow. You know, it's like if something's really like blowing, like you know, people have to like work and stuff and like keep it together. You know, like sometimes that's like okay, well, if that's really hard, then like maybe we're gonna give you like you know, like some support, Akatillo comfrey, something that like helps to like hold things together a little bit while you like have space, like, you know, a little psychic protection while you have space to like move through the thing. If those things aren't the things that are doing the thing for you, because like Akatillo comfrey could be doing the thing for you, but whatever, you know, like sometimes, you know, like I've seen it all, you know, I'm making really good, you know, but I feel like I'm like maybe I could see a little bit more for people because it really you know it's like people who have a hard time being seen can really make them feel like whoa I have all this space now it's scary, but you know like sometimes I'll do you know like give people something like that, but mostly like encourage people like especially when you're having a big reaction or a bit like just like big like there's big movement happening and big attention and big like sensation. I'll like you know encourage people to like sit with that when they have time and really just like be with it while it's like running its you know like running its course and just return to like breathing into your heart and like really just like being present with it. And yeah, I think it is like trusting that that plant is on your side, you know, like it's they're really just like there for you. And that attention is bringing because I know from my own experiences, some of the stuff that's been the hardest, that has made me feel the most awful. And Hawthorne, like I was just it's funny because we were just talking about this at our church yesterday. I was talking about this Hawthorne story, which was like a very profound one for me. Like I had been taking it without knowing what it was. Like while I was in school, we would do this like month-long mystery herbs, and I was taking Hawthorne, and I swear I was like so angry. I like hate, like it's just like anybody who bossed me, like said anything to me, bossed me around. Like I was like doing some like catering while I was in herb school to like pay for school. I do a lot of cooking stuff, and like any chefs telling me what to do, even though that was like what they were supposed to do, I would like, I was feeling excruciatingly touchy and like irritated and angry, and all these like feelings that you would never associate with Hawthorne.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like crying all the time. It was like basically kind of like prolonged, like it was like being like in PMS, or like really bad PMS or PMDD, like the whole time. Like I was just like really having a rough time. And then when we did like the big reveal in class, it turned out to be Hawthorne. And I was like, why is everybody having a good time? Like I'm suffering. And my teacher took me aside and was like, hey, this one's like giving you some big information. And she actually suggested that I did this Tibetan exercise called Tonglen, which is, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's like about like, it's basically like you built, like, she had me like basically like build a giant fire in my heart and like breathe it. I think typically it's like a meditation on like breathing in the pain of the world and breathing it out. But I did it while taking Hawthorne and like working through all this trauma stuff. And it was like amazing because all what I was doing was like bringing everything up to the surface, decades of sludge, like deep old stuff. And it just wanted to move. It wanted a place to move, but I was so afraid because it was heart stuff. Like heart is the hardest place for me. And like keeping it open and stuff. And it just wanted to be open so it could move through like big truth stuff. Yeah. And it was like it was stuff like, it was like I was so scared that it was like making me like irritable and, like all this sort of stuff. So when I was able to like access it and be with it, it moved things so fast for me. And then it was like so psychedelic when it did move and did shift, because Hawthorne taught me how to open my heart. And then when it's open, I like literally saw like the world looked different. The way I related to people looked different. I had so much, it's like the way I held compassion, the way that I was able to forgive people who had harmed me. It was like, not that you need to do that, but it was like helpful for me. Like, like whatever your journey is, like you do you, but like it helps me in such a deep way. But it was so hard and I had so much resistance. I think part of it was that I had, like I was so scared too. And I think maybe that's something to think about with like clients and yourself and stuff like that when we're, just like trying to like access that trust. I think it comes over time building relationships like we would with people, it's like very similar, I think, building that trust.
Totally. And I do see that as well. I witness that in some clients who at first have that deep resistance when there's the intensity when they're first using it, but like over time when they begin to use them more and build that relationship with them, like that trust naturally like comes up and they allow it, and like you say, it just moves so much quicker then because there is no resistance. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I know that it made me think like it's like so much like when I'm like like the way that I was like taught to like formulate for clients too is like my teacher Karen's like Choctaw and taught us like some pretty cool like animal energetics and like very specific energetics that she felt like were okay to teach people and stuff like that. And like we like learned formulation in like we're like addressing everything as like emotional, spiritual, and physical, so looking at it all that way. So then like it's just like moving energy, and we make these like energetic maps, and then we would like formulate like in a way that would be like there would be like a lead, a push, a hold, and then a whisper for the future. And that really helps with the like buck, like the like when people like kind of buck because you're like seeing their pattern, like you're working with patterns, right? So it's like it really helped. It's like a great kind of structure to like think about when like formulating, so that it's not so hard, you know, when, you know, it's just like really trying to be like supportive in that process, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's something really cool to keep in mind for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To have like all of those aspects of the process combined within the formulation. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you shared a little thing on your Instagram the other day, um, of how, and I guess this touches a little bit on what we've been talking about as well, but how working with the flowers and the plants brings us into like this constant observation of how we're showing up in our relationships to others and to our environment and to our experiences. And that's again something that has been so prominent in my own journey with the flower essences. So I'd love if you could share a piece of wisdom that you feel like the flowers have given you in this realm of relating and relationships, whether it be to other people or, you know, just to our environment or to the plants themselves.
Yeah, I love this question. And I think like there's so obviously like we've talked about like relationships and relating, and I'm like flowers and like maybe probably the goats, and also like my dog, and like a very like non-hierarchical sense, like have taught me everything about like relating and like how to be in relation. Like I feel like and my relationships with humans too, because I am human and it's really, really important. But I think like in terms of like flowers and working with flowers, I think, you know, to like to listen and receive like whatever that is, whether it's like a healing thing or a message or whatever, you know, like whatever, is like so important. And it's natural to like want to reciprocate and give back to those deep and loving teachers, right? And then also sometimes to listen and to put those practices that have been those like messages that have been like spoken to us or like taught to us and to heal is how we give back to those teachers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's kind of like giving, like as in giving back to the flowers, you mean, or giving back to the plant?
Like to the like sometimes like no, I've had like direct, you know, I've had like direct messages from plants that have like told like, or like, you know, like told me what, or just like very physical observations with plants and stuff like that too. But I think like one of the like most profound things too is like sometimes we think like of reciprocity in this. I think it's like really easy to think about reciprocity as like you give, I take, you give. Like it's like kind of like tit for tat or something like that. Yeah. But I think that there's something so incredible. I'm like gonna tear up because there's like something there's like such a source of unconditional love that I have found with the flowers, in that even just them like having experienced the acknowledgement that they like that a flower could tell us a message and that it could open us up to healing is enough. And like for that to be acknowledged, for the plant to feel acknowledged in that way is enough for that plant to feel like there is a reciprocal relationship, you know. That's just like to pay attention can sometimes be enough, because that's all the plants want, you know. And I think that's like so mind-blowing. Like what if it was like that sometimes in the way that we related? And it is, and there's a place for that too. And I think that's really cool.
Yes. No, that resonates so much. And I almost got shivers when you just shared that, because it's like, I think we do disregard the act of receiving for its power and like what it can be, because it is like you say, like we kind of like do the tit for tat and like it's like give and take, but it's like, what if it's like just like consciously acknowledging and receiving is your part in the reciprocity, like is your giving back. I love that. I love that thought of it. And then it kind of even goes one step further to be like, if you can actually action that message and bring it forth and share it with others, like that's what they truly want, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's like interesting because I feel like when I got into herbs and stuff like that, I was really like, I just want to add, I just think this is an important thing to say is I was just really self-conscious as like a settler body on like stolen land, how I was going to be in relationship with like native plant, like just like plants and like land and like just really like a lot of awareness on like how much I take, you know?
Yes.
And so sometimes I could get into this like loop of being like, I can't like I can't do this, like Western type, like all like just like really check it, like obsessively checking like how I'm really like I want to be a good relative, like I want to be, you know, like all this stuff. And I think that's what makes like that message that I shared like so profound. Is like sometimes what the plants just want is you to like listen to them and respect like at what level their intelligence is and like really synthesis, like just really like take in that, and that's sometimes enough. And that's like one of the most, I feel like that's just so profoundly loving of the plants. Like just finding unconditional love in those places can show me how to unconditionally love other beings, including other humans too. And I yeah, just blows me away kind of that that's even a possibility in this culture. Like I feel like that's like an unlearning of like Western colonial thought.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, that's really beautiful. It's like, you know, almost can get to a point where it's like us trying to do the right thing is almost counterintuitive because we're like actually closing ourselves off to what the land or the plants or the stone or the flowers want to share with us. Because it's like if we feel as though like we're doing the wrong thing and resisting those messages, like it's actually like it's not moving forward, right? It's just keeping us stuck in those closed off and fearful ways. So it's like yeah, I just think like how can we learn all to, it's like we need to more so close ourselves off to the messages of humans and just open ourselves to the messages of the land and the earth, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously like there, you know, like there's a lot in like unlearning all of our like you know like this our stuff too and stuff like that. But yeah, I do agree with that, and I think there's like a lot there, and I'm sure that there's like things I'm missing, and like there's like problematic aspects of that too, and like there's a deepening, like there's just like there's more to it, I think, that like I can't speak to or cover there, but I think there is like just like so like it's like universally like the more than human beings, spirits, communities are like very much a part of us and a part of our lives and a part of like this like intelligent life force that has like so much to offer like everybody, like not just for us to heal. Like it's not just like we need to like, it's not like the goal is like of course I want to like be not run by my trauma and like not suffering, and you know it's like not, but I think it's like beyond. I think like the sentiment is like when we like heal with plants and we're like listening to these messages of all these beings, they're like doing it, they're telling us this stuff because they like love us, believe in us, and also are like I'm not like they're looking out for themselves, but like looking out for like the whole entire picture of things.
Yes.
Because it's like when we're right, they're right, and they're right. You know, it's like a domino effect of like collective wellness, of like a very holistic way of like living, and like like in a world that's like animate and alive, and everything matters, because everything matters in like a non, you know, it's like looking at like non-hierarchical structures of like, and getting out of like that human centric perspective of like, this is how, you know, it's like, it's about that, you know?
Yes. I think you just articulated what I was trying to say before. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this, everything that we just sort of touched on and you sort of touched on, I actually feel like these particular messages was something that I like this notion was something that I've received personally from the marigold flower. I don't know if you've ever worked with the marigold essence at all, and what your experience with it was. Probably something completely different in your part of the world and in your experience. But I feel like, yeah, everything we just touched on is something that I received from the marigold flower itself. So that's interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. I'm also like, wow, I don't think I've ever like sat with marigold, which is like really interesting, because I like grew tons of marigolds this year, and I made this like huge marigold garland over my bed. So I've been like probably dreaming with marigolds a lot and not like knowing it. And I've made like so like, I have like a room divide, like I have so many marigold garlands in my room right now. And then my friend Juana just gave me like a hydrosol of it.
Okay.
And then it's going to be like Day of the Dead soon, and it's like so a part of like the Thin Veil world, and
yeah,
that's so interesting. I'm like, whoa, I'm so interested, and I like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna open myself up to that now.
Marigold is calling.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Hello.
Let's go.
I would love to hear, because I feel like as well, you know, that the message from the marigold is still something that like I have trouble articulating myself. So I can't quite like really find the language to share it all in this moment. But I would love to hear when you sort of sit with it, what comes through for you.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it, because I feel like that too. Sometimes like talking it, like that's what you know, like talking about Flower Church and like being together and talking about like, sometimes like you'll be like, oh yeah, that person articulated that perfectly. You know, like I feel like that's how we like should discover, because I think that's like one really cool thing about like talking to plants is like I think of it as like that. It's not like you're like this plant. Like, I mean, sometimes I feel like a plant will be like, hey, what's up? But like oftentimes it's like this like spiritual sensation, like it's like a spiritual sensation that like becomes like an inner knowing. And if there's words, like it's like somehow you've translated it or something like that. Totally. And I think it's a gift. I think it's like a really amazing gift too. But you know, it's like, so, you know, it's like walking around, like being with, or like having those like emergent knowings. And that's like why the like strong intuition and like trust in that is like really important, and why I like to teach that, because I think we all have that. But like, just like, but sometimes it doesn't make any freaking sense. Well, sometimes it doesn't, like literally, or like that did not make any sense. But then also like, but you're like, okay, maybe it will make some sense one day. And then also sometimes it's like inarticulate. And then so also when I teach, I like to like give people like tool, like colors, texture, like, you know, like it's just like, just pay attention to the energetics of it and like keep going with it, keep going, you know, see those patterns.
Because it's not like we're actually like, it's not like a plant is speaking to us in the English language, you know, it's like it's an energy transmission, and we're receiving it in the way that like it's going to like, we're going to be able to comprehend it or almost store it, or like just actually receive it, right? So then it's up to us to like, do we articulate it in a certain way, or do we like just express it in a certain way, or do we just hold on to that energy of it, knowing that like it's going to bring forth something in this realm, or whatever it may be, you know? They're not speaking to us in English, it's just how we're receiving it that is like, totally. So
I love that about it. I just feel like that. I feel like it's just like so cool. It's like that alone, and then like the ways that it like affects different people, different energy. It's just like the possibilities are like endless, and I feel like it's like, and I feel like they helped me believe that anything is possible, and I think that's like a really good thing.
Absolutely.
You know, just point blank. And so I'm just like, wow, cool. Like when you know that anything is possible, yeah, it just opens things up in big ways that I think like, yeah, I feel like so much of like the dominant culture wants us to believe only certain things are possible.
Yes.
And there's limits to things. And so I love that. It's like feels so essential and crucial to like, you know, and be in these places that we can't define and hold in like a certain way. Like that's also just like so good for us, you know?
Absolutely. You know, yeah, something that like I have really struggled with in my life is like articulating like my feelings or my experiences or whatever it is. And it's like the flowers have given me like this permission to like not actually have to articulate it, to be like, to feel like I like, can feel like that or can experience that or like and moving through that. Like they themselves have offered this like almost like permission slip to just know that what I am experiencing is mine. You know, I don't have to be able to express it with certain language and lexicon, like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that's so. I feel like that. Yeah, I'm like, it's inspiring. Like that inspires. That's it. Just is.
Beautiful. So, apart from having marigolds everywhere at the moment, what other plant allies are you working with? And what are they doing for you?
Well, it's interesting. I had like I won like a random Instagram raffle this year. So like somehow I won two this year, which is like
fun.
Really amazing. I know. I was like, wow, I'm really lucky. I should enter some raffles for cars or something like that. You know, like some bigger stuff. And I won one with Dory Midnight. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dory's work, but they're a really cool herbalist who's been around for a long time and does flowers and stuff. And I think was in the Bay for a really long time. Just very like inspiring. I love Dory's practice so much. And I got a reading with Dory, and I actually pulled it out. I think she made me like a custom formula, and there's moonwater moss, wild rose, green jasper, rhodolite, garnet, emerald, gay wings, starflower, and chalice well. And I think it's like Alaskan essences that makes the chalice well, which is the environmental essence.
Yep.
I love, like, that's already been one that has I struggle with a lot of mental health stuff. I care too much. Like I'm just like I do, and I think that's like part of why I love this world and the plant stuff, and it comes so strong and natural. Like it just like feels so real and part of the gift of it all. And chalice well, like I love that it came back in this formula at this time, because the chalice well, which is, you know, an environmental essence of a sacred site, you know, like a sacred water site, is it, you know, like it sounds like, it looks like by your nodding you like know of it, but it's like so much about like receiving unconditional support from the like all of the like the plant, stone, animal kingdoms, like all, like just like the endless unconditional love from all beings. And I think especially if you are you know, a person who is really resisting the like I guess resisting the dominant cult, like the the paradigm that is being like forced upon us, and the way that like things are supposed to be, and the way that we're treating each other, and like everything that's going on, and you're like sensitive and blah blah blah, like all that stuff. I feel like it's so easy, you know, it's like so easy for me personally to, even though it's like this, like I'm so grateful for the plants and the animals and the stones and the waters and stuff like that, because they bring me back to a deep sense of belonging. And I feel like chalice well is so strong. The like boom, 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 like we got your back, you know, like I feel like they're all like behind, like it's like all of a sudden you have like all these like almost like guardian angels or something like that of just like earth spirits and star spirits just like all there and like holding so deeply, and it helps. I just have a lot of energy, and it really helps me to relax knowing that I'm safe. Like it gives me a deep sense of safety and security.
Yeah.
And so I love, like, this is like one of, and I plan to, I'm very excited because next year I'm going to visit my other best friend abroad who lives in England. And she's like so incredible at knowing all like sacred waters and stuff like that. And we're going to go travel to the Chalice Well together next year. And I'm very, very excited about that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like in such a crazy world that we live in, like it's like remembering that you have this like unconditional support from the earth and nature and the universe is like so key to being able to like move through it, right?
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love that they're just like, you belong here. Like, we need you, you know, because it's just like, it's so easy to just be like, I'm just a person and a blip of the thing, you know, like whatever, because we all, but it doesn't, just because we're just like one tiny little person in a whole entire universe doesn't mean that we're not important and that we're not a part of it. Even if it's just like one tiny little piece, like it's all important, just as like the marigold plant
I was
is.
just gonna say
Yeah.
you have to sit with the marigold because
Mhm. Yeah.
this is another piece to the message of the
Oh,
marigold,
cool. Amazing.
right?
I'm so excited. Yeah.
It's the belonging, it's the knowing that like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're the little blip, but like through you comes all of the earth's wisdom, all of the ancestral wisdom, all of those before us.
Yeah,
Like
the ancestors.
through
Right. Yeah.
you comes that. And like you've
Hmm.
got your own unique gift to share with the world, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't, you know, meant to be here. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know, you do belong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm so excited I'm excited. I've also just really love all the like, deep belonging herbs too, because I feel like, well, I struggle with it, but also I just feel like so much of our stuff I think also because of the way that just like, yeah, we've been taken away for like so many people have been like taken away from their ancestral lands, and either like, you know, with like a lot of pain and a lot of like suffering and murder, you know, like all that's like, you know, just like some big stuff. And I think like it's really easy for us to like feel lost and like we don't belong. And so I feel like that's the root of a lot of things. A lot of the wounding, like, you know, the European wound and like the settler wound too. And yeah, so I think like knowing that we're part of everything is really, really important.
Mm.
So I'm excited for the marigold. That's
Yes.
cool.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm excited for you to take it.
Yeah. Me too. I'm gonna hit you up. I'm like, yo, what's up?
I love it.
Let's talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just have one last question for you today.
Yeah.
And this is something that I ask all of my guests on this season anyway. So could you share one thing that you believe the plant world or nature or the stones or just earth would like the collective to know right now?
Ooh, good question. I mean, maybe it is just that. Like, it's kind of like, I think kind of the thing I said before, that like even the like acknowledgement of the intelligence and the like outpouring of like love and unconditional support from the plants is like something to hold on to in this moment, you know. And that it's there for you to access, to like strengthen your spiritual backbone, and then therefore be able to like show up in this world in a better way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like, you know, going back to like, you know, the belonging, it's like if the plants and the earth has messages for you, they want you to receive it. They want you here. So like you do
Definitely.
belong, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I know, it's very interesting. Like, it's just so funny because I feel like people like think, like, I just like think about like, I know like we're like at the end of our talk or whatever, but it just like immediately made me think about like discipline, like when people are like that, like, you know, like I was just thinking like my friend's son is like being really bad right now, and it's like kind of scary, like it's like kind of in a ways where I'm like, yeah, it is kind of like scary that like a young like white man is acting that way. And also like what if he was able to like have access to like flowers and animals, like I was just like he shouldn't like be like yelled at and abused and disciplined, like what if the paradigm was different where it was like, yeah, like spent time with like I thought about like my friend in Australia who does like the horse therapies, like what if it was different and we didn't discipline people, we like gave them animals and flowers. Yeah, it's very helpful, but you know, like I just think like at least the opportunity to like receive support in that way, I think it would just change. I think it just, yeah, anyway, whatever. I don't know why I went there.
No, but I love it. My mind does this sort of stuff all the time. I love it because it's like, I guess it's like that potentiality that the flowers and the earth and everything brings up in you as well. It's like, you know how much different it could be if there was like this new way of moving through the world, a new way of relating with others. You know, if instead of disciplining, which just cuts people off more from who they are, causes more resistance, what if we like nurtured them and opened them up to like these things that expanded their ability to work with the world rather than against it? It's I love that.
Absolutely.
I think it's just like that final message of like what this medicine has to offer here for us, like, and what it could do. It's like, if one more person like from this conversation opens themselves up to like working with it, like how amazing,
totally.
you know?
Yeah. It's really big stuff. Like I think it's like it's not for nothing, you know? It's like big, it's super big stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been such an amazing conversation. I really love chatting with you and hearing everything about your experience and, you know, your relationship with the world and the flowers and the earth and everything. If those who are listening would like to find you and your offerings, where can they do that?
I guess just my website, which is snakerootapothecary.com, or Instagram, Snakeroot Apothecary. I'm online. I'm very like online. I'm bad at getting back to people, but I am online.
That's all right. If they know what's good from that way.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for listening in. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation, and let us know what you thought in the comments of where you're listening or on socials or anything, and we'll be back next week.